Hi guys, Lookfog here and welcome to another FIFA 21 video, and this is a very exciting video guys because today I'm going to be giving you the potentially confirmed team of the season, the community team of the season, which is due to come out next Friday. I have done quite a bit of research there. I've accumulated 200 people's votes for the community team of the season, and I basically numbered everything, put it into percentages and all that kind of stuff on what those people voted for to kind of form up something that we could expect to see for the community team of the season, which comes out next Friday into packs. And originally I was going to do 500 votes, but it was taking way too long, so I had to put it down to 200 votes because also due to kind of some time constraints. If I started doing 500, I wouldn't be done till like 7 o'clock tonight, and I would have been. Even now, I was working solid on it for like a good 2 or 3 hours. It took quite a while, but there's going to be a few things to explain in this video, so it might be a little bit long. Before we come to all this like kind of page, and then I kind of show you like the teams that I've formed up on what is likely to expect to see, whether we get an 11-man team or whether we get a 20-man team like last year. And I have to say, before we get any further into the video, I know I've been very critical of EA recently, but EA they've messed up again. They've been very, very poor this year on how they've gone about the voting, and they haven't been clear on what you had to do, basically. Now, I remember last year, I'm sure you guys remember as well, for FIFA 20, 19, 18, and whatever. Listen, it's been a number of years now that we've been allowed to make the community team of the season vote. But remembering years gone by where, first of all, it's never just been an 11-man squad from memory. We've always been able to vote for a lot more players than just 11 players. Usually it's like a 20-man or 23-man team. Last year it was a 20-man team that you got the choice, or it was 23 players that got the choice to vote for. 20 went into packs, and then an additional 3 went into like SBCs and objectives. This year we got the choice of just voting for 11 players. There's no option to vote for the bench or cards that might go into SBCs or whatever. Now, basically, I so for the vote, they've just said celebrates the best performers that I've not, who've earned a maximum of 1 special card so far in FUTS 21, with no more than 4 players from the same league. Now, actually, when you go to make your vote, if you wanted to, you could go and put in 6 Premier League players or 6, Bundesliga players, and your vote would be accepted, despite EA saying here with no more than 4 players in the same league. And basically, it's just EA's marketing team and whoever goes about creating this just not quite explaining it poorly. You'd think a company like them should be able to explain something clearly, and as far as I'm concerned, I think it's been explained very, very badly by EA. But what I can get my head around from this is basically, if you want to go and vote for 6 or 7 Premier League players or 6 or 7 Bundesliga players or whatever, you go and do that. Your vote will be accepted. I put in 5 Premier League players and my vote was accepted, just like plenty of other people that have done their votes. But what I think EA kind of mean is, they will only put in, for example, a maximum of 4 players in the Premier League. So they'll collect all the votes, but they're only going to put in 4 players in the Premier League. So, for example, they might only put in Harvey Barnes, Antonio, Areola, and Wan-Bissaka, for example. They wouldn't go and put in a fit for a 6th one. But I just think EA, what they should have done is, for the voting, just to stop confusing the whole thing, just force people to only select 4 players. So, for example, once you've selected your 4 Premier League players, make it impossible for someone to then submit a fit one and then bring up an error message saying that you've already submitted 4 Premier League players. It's not that too hard to be able to do. They've done it last year. They've done it in previous years. Why not do the same again this year? Now, I'm sorry for that little rant, but it just doesn't make any sense. A company like EA should be able to create something and explain something a lot easier than that, instead of sitting there and confusing people. So now that's all cleared up, if we cast our mind back to last year, you were able to vote for a 23-man team, and 20 players, as you can see on the screen here, that were the most voted by the community, went into packs. And basically, you couldn't have, it had to be less than 5 players from every single league. And that's what was kind of created from that. Now, I've been collecting 200 people's votes on Twitter today. I've been liking all the posts. So if I go to Twitter here and I go to my profile accounts, just here, and I go to my likes, and there's there's a few stuff there for F1, but I've been liking all these posts, and that's how I've been doing it's took quite a while to do, but that's how I've been collecting them on Twitter, just so you guys kind of know about that. So let's have a little bit of look. Let's go for the goalkeepers, defenders, mids, attackers, see who got like the highest vote shares, see who maybe didn't do as well as what I thought they were going to do, and then kind of see what teams that as a result I have formed up with the 4 with the 4-player league restriction in place. Another thing to mention as well is we don't know this year, because this is the first time that EA have only ever told us to go and vote for 11 players. I have brought up, if it is just going to be an 11-man team, I will show you later on what the 11-man team I think will be. There's 2 different versions of what I think we're likely to see. If it's going to be a full 20-man team, despite us not being allowed to vote for 20 players, if it's going to be a 20-man team like in previous years with a few extra cards coming in SBCs and objectives, I will show you as well what I think that will look like. But anyway, guys, let's focus on the goalkeepers. So Areola's getting a team of the season card, 100%. It was him and Schmeichel that had the 200 votes that got the most. In fact, if we go to the percentages here, just down at the bottom, as you can see here on the left-hand side, Areola got 34.5%, Schmeichel got 25%, and Gulashi from Leipzig got 22%. Romero and Musiala also got like a few votes as well, but they were so low that they will not enter team of the season. Now, of course, we do know, if it's an 11-man team, there'll only be one goalkeeper. It will be Areola. Now, of course, I only collected 200 votes. The whole vote, hundreds of thousands have voted for this. I've only got a sample of 200, but even from a sample of 200, just from, random people within the community, you can start to kind of form up and start to see pictures of what players are becoming the most popular. Is my research foolproof? No, it isn't, but at the same time, it does give you a decent idea of what we're likely to see, and that's a big gap between Schmeichel and Areola. Even if it's a 20-man team where we get 2 goalkeepers, they won't put in 2 Premier League goalkeepers because of the 4 Premier League players restrictions. They wouldn't use up half of the Premier League player restrictions onto goalkeepers. That's just a bit of common sense there. So, if it's going to be a 20-man team, it will be Gulashi and Areola, because there's a massive gap there between the Bundesliga and La Liga. And if it's a 1-man team, or if it's an 11-man team, they'll only have 1 goalkeeper, and it will be Areola. When you look into the defenders as well, we'll have a look at the percentages for the goalkeeper, for the defenders in a second, but, Wan-Bissaka was way out in front with 113 votes. Him and Alaba were very, very high percentages of the votes. I mean, Ruud and Schultz there didn't get a single vote out of the 200 they did. They didn't get any at all. But look at that, Wan-Bissaka, 56.5%, Alaba, 55%, Mukiele, 46%. And I tell you something as well from looking at these 200 votes, the Premier League and the Bundesliga was so popular. But what's interesting is, despite, for example, a lot of the Premier League players and Bundesliga players being very, very popular, there are going to be people like Schmeichel, like Zuma, despite still getting a pretty high percentage share, they won't get in because of the 4-player restriction from each league. So as you can see here, for example, the top 6 of the defenders, Wan-Bissaka, Alaba, Mukiele, Digne, Zuma, Tabsoba, even James Justin and Baku as well, who drew a Goldson from Rangers. There's 7 players, Baku was joint with Goldson, but there's 6 players here from the defenders that were the top, and they're only from 2 leagues in the Premier League and the Bundesliga. That's why players like Goldson and Tagliafico, despite not having necessarily the highest percent share, because they're from different leagues and not very, very popular leagues, they still have a decent chance of being able to get in, even into the 11-man team, if that's what it's to be. So they do have chances, and we'll have a look at the teams a little bit later on. Valverde from the midfielders, he's getting a 15. He got the most votes. He got 113 votes or something like that. What was it in the end for 118 for Valverde in the end from 200. That is ridiculous. And Dumbele, 43%. Chaser will get in because there weren't too many supports from the Serie A players. For example, if we go to the goalkeepers, look at what Cragno got, the Serie A goalkeeper from Calgary. He got less than Musiala and Benitez. The Serie A just did not get the support at all, did it? Apart from Chaser from Juve, who got 34.5%. He will get in there 100% because there's not that many, because the Bundesliga and the Premier League are going to get filled up very, very quickly with those four spaces only available each. They will get used up quickly. But cards like Chaser, because there's not that many good players from the Serie A that have been included in the community team of season votes, he is guaranteed to get in there. So well done to him. If you are a fan of the Serie A, you will be getting yourself a team of season Chaser available in packs from next Friday. And Kunku from Leipzig, once again, it's the same story. When you look here, it's just filled, well, not too much in terms of Bundesliga players in the midfield, but you do have Nkunku, Højbjerg, and Dumbele. But Zielinski, I was surprised, only 14%. Mariano from Real Sociedad got 10%. These are just some of the highest votes. Obviously, there are plenty more candidates, but I just picked out like the biggest ones. Even Skip from Norwich got 8%. He could still get in there. We'll have a look in a second. And then for the attackers, Moise Kean, 53%. He was by far the most popular attacker in the whole list. There's not too many players, again, just like the Serie A, there's not too many players from Ligue 1 that got popular within the votes. 53%. He will be in packs, guaranteed for next Friday. Harvey Barnes, Leon Bailey, Antonio. Again, it's that Premier League and Bundesliga theme that was so popular. But Zapata was 17% because of how bad the Serie A was. He has a chance. Edouard from Celtic, Armstrong from Blackburn, and Daka from, I think he's from Salzburg. They have a chance of getting in there. So let's have a look at what kind of teams we can expect. If it's only going to be an 11-man team, which in the voting, it looks to be more likely that particular way instead of a full 20-man team. This is what we can expect. I picked out 2 teams. Obviously, if it's another man team, there'll only be one goalkeeper. It will be Areola. If we look at the defenders, because obviously we have to take into account the 4 maximum players from each league. Now, this is where it gets a bit complicated for the Bundesliga and for the Premier League, and where it could get a little bit hard, which is why I've had to create 2 teams. But I think because of how popular in my voting research, Alaba and Wan-Bissaka were achieving both over half of the overall percentage of votes, they would get in. I think they're nailed on. I think Muki Ile as well, who almost got half the percentage of votes, should be able to get in. And then I think it's going to be in between Digne or Tabsoba, or potentially Goldson or Tagliafico to get in on that left-hand sided position there for the defense. If we look at the midfield, Valverde and Chaser will get in. Then I think it's going to be a toss-up of Nkunku and Ndombele. And then after that, maybe Zielinski or Højbjerg potentially. And of course, we have to take in. So, for example, on this particular left-hand sided team here, we got in terms of Premier League players, we got Barnes as 1. Digne, Wan-Bissaka, and Ariel. That means there's 4 Premier League players in the 11-man team. Alaba, Mukiele, Nkunku, and Bailey means, once again, there's 4 Bundesliga players. And it's the exact same on this right-hand side. We have 3 defenders from the Bundesliga. And then we have from the Premier League an additional 3 players in Areola and Ndombele and Harvey Barnes. But I think Moise Kean is another player that's very, very likely to get in. I think Harvey Barnes as well, because of how good his percentage share was at 39%. I think Zapata still has a chance of getting in there with 17% because it's just from a different league. And of course, EA don't want to go too focused on the Premier League and the Bundesliga. They will want to offer players from different leagues, which is why Zapata, despite only getting 17%, he has a chance. Edouard at 16.5%, he has a chance. And if we look at a 20-man team, it gets very, very interesting. I think we have 3 potential candidates for the goalkeeper position. Areola, Gulashi, and Romero from Real Sociedad. Last year we had 3 goalkeepers in the team. If it's going to be the same this year, that's what I can expect. They won't go with 2 Premier League goalkeepers. They will not do that. They would go from 3 goalkeepers from 3 completely different leagues. For the defenders, they're going with Wan-Bissaka, Alaba, Mukiele, Digne, Goldson, Tagliafico. For the midfield, they're going with Valverde, Chaser, Zielinski, Mariano, and Ndombele, and Skip from Norwich. And then for the attackers, Moise Kean, Leon Bailey, Zapata, Edouard, Daka, and also Harvey Barnes should also be in that list there if it's a 20-man team. But actually, if you look here, even for the 4 Premier League players, again, Areola, Wan-Bissaka makes 2, Digne makes 3, and Ndombele makes 4 players from the Premier League, so I couldn't go with Harvey Barnes in the attack, and that's where it makes it complicated, and that's where it leads me to think, because they're only having 4 players from each league, I don't think it will be a 20-man team. It will be a starting 11 like this that you can expect, and I think that these 2 teams that I've formed on the screen here are likely what we could see for the Premier League team, not for the Premier League, for the community team of the season. So that is everything for this video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. So I think, you know, from my votes nailed on players, Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Alaba, Mukiele, Valverde, Chaser, and Moise Kean are getting in. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 players that are already nailed on an 11-man team. I think Leon Bailey and Harvey Barnes, one of those 2 will get in, potentially even both of them. If not, we can expect players like Zapata to come into it. Ndombele and Nkunku are going to be fighting for the defence. Tabsoba, Digne, Zuma, Goldson, and Tagliafico will all be fighting as well to get into the defence. So that is everything, guys, that I've been able to do for this video. It took a long time to be able to do, so any support on this would be really, really appreciated. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later.